Welcome to Own It, Your Business and Your Life with Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. In this podcast, we're going to cover everything you need to embrace to become a successful entrepreneur, marketing, money and much, much more. How to create a business doing just what you love. How to own it, your business and your life. This one will be fast, funny, feisty and very lively. So sit back and enjoy the show. Right, well, let's crack on then, shall we, Judith? Welcome.
Roger. Yeah, I'm ready. Are you ready?
I'm ready too, yes, and we are recording. So we don't want to avoid anything going wrong this week. So this week, what's one thing about your week you'd like to share?
Well, Nicola, I don't even know how to tell you this story. It's the most bizarre thing ever.
Oh.
I'm going to tell you about, we're recording on a Wednesday, I'm going to tell you about my yesterday, which was a Tuesday. And later today, as you'll hear, I'm being an expert for somebody. So I had scheduled in my diary that yesterday would be preparation time. I had to create a sales page with a special offer, and I had to prepare my answers to the questions that I know she's going to ask me. And I only had one client booked in, and I thought to myself, it's a bit annoying that I've got a client in the middle of this. Shall I reschedule this person? And I thought, no, if I pull my finger out, I can work with that. But magic, during the course of the morning, I got 3 emails from this client rescheduling herself from yesterday until today. And I thought, well, I nearly sent her a message saying, oh, you're so woo-woo. She's been a client since God was a lad. I know her really well. She knows me really well. I thought she must have picked up the vibe that's not dreadfully convenient for me today and moved herself to tomorrow. Well, not magic. How brilliant is that? I nearly sent that email, but because I know her so well, I didn't even bother to send that because I was focused on this other project. Anyway, unbeknownst to me, she wasn't actually rescheduling yesterday's call. She was rescheduling February's call a month ahead of time.
Oh, God.
And explaining that she got a doctor's appointment. So me thinking that she'd rescheduled yesterday, I went offline. So I don't have Skype open if I'm talking to clients. I wasn't on Facebook and I wasn't on email because I was working on this project. Anyway, come 3 o'clock, this client thinks I haven't turned up. And as you know, I am the most reliable person ever. But oddly, she completely overreacted. She couldn't get me on Skype. She couldn't get me on Facebook. She couldn't get me on email. So she started phoning my friends. And when I was later on, I started literally, she thought I died or something. I don't know. But
did she call the police?
Within 40 minutes, I'd had a barrage of, and they're still coming in now, from Marion in Ireland. God knows what Marion in Ireland could have done if it dropped down dead in South London. But I had this barrage of, suddenly all my gadgets started tweeting and making noises. And I thought, what the hell is going on here? And basically she'd contact, I honestly don't know. I don't know. I wasn't there at 3 o'clock. And she opened up a conversation in our Facebook group. Does anybody have Judith's number? Where's Judith? I'm so worried about Judith. I've had emails, phone calls, texts, and messages from the entire planet wanting to know if I'm alive.
But you haven't had the front door being broken down, which is the main thing.
Well, that is good news, but it is just so, it's a massive overreaction.
Yeah.
If it had been the other way around, I would have gone, oh, well.
She's busy. End of. Forgotten.
No, it's not even that I was busy. I think she was concerned because for the first time in our fairly lengthy relationship, I wasn't where I was supposed to be at the time I thought I was supposed to be. But what she'd done was booked herself a call at 3 o'clock on a Tuesday afternoon in January and 3 o'clock on the same Tuesday afternoon in February. And what we'd had was a miscommunication in the morning because I thought, I'd like her to move. Then I saw her emails moving herself. I assumed it was yesterday. It wasn't. It was next month. So to that extent, it's my fault. But when I wasn't there, consequently, or available on anything, because my focus was elsewhere, she started ringing my friends and saying, is Judith alive?
Oh, dear. That is a bit, in some ways, it's really sweet. And in some ways, it's really worrying because
Well, in some ways it's really sweet, but then basically within 40 minutes of, literally within 40 minutes, this does not bode well for Digital Detox Fridays when I'm going to be offline for 24 hours.
Yeah, that's
within 40 minutes of not being available, I was receiving panicky messages from everybody I knew.
I don't think it would happen with a normal client, would it? Because most normal clients would only have your email or your Skype. They wouldn't know who your friends were or how to get in contact with them.
No, it wouldn't.
Yeah.
It wouldn't. I mean, that's why it's slightly bizarre. But actually, it came hot on the heels of something really weird that had happened earlier in the day, which, there I was trying to ring fence. When you're preparing for something where you want to look polished and professional.
Oh, yes.
You just turn off other distractions, don't you?
Yes, you do.
And I begun yesterday morning with somebody cloning me on Facebook and sending messages to my friends. So I lost 2 hours in the morning dealing with private messages, emails and texts from somebody saying, what's this bizarre message you've sent me on Facebook? So literally, yesterday was the most bizarre day I've ever had.
So when you say someone was cloning you, what, they set up a profile called Judith Morgan, stole your pictures and put them on as...
No, I think they don't steal all your pictures, they steal your photograph.
Yeah.
And then they start contacting all your friends and asking them to be their friends. And all your friends think it's Judith Morgan, so they say yes.
Yeah.
But some of the, scaremongers send you 1,000 private messages in which they want to have a conversation with you. Fortunately, one of my clients was quick enough to report it. The same one that got sucked in the afternoon, even though she lives in Edinburgh, to Where's Judith and Is She Alive? She had the temerity to report it to Facebook in the morning, and Facebook were on it like a bonnet and made it go away within 2 hours. But of course, as you know, on Facebook, there are a lot of people who are not on there all of the time. So as the Americans woke up, they all started sending me messages saying, what's this strange message I've had from you? Honestly, it was just the weirdest day of my life, where, all my friends on Facebook got weird messages from me using the word gotten, which I have to say is a bit of a clue because that's a word I would never use. Facebook made it go away, which is great. Facebook were quick. They made it go away without any impact on me.
Yeah.
But, if you've had a message saying, please befriend me, and then you click it and then the original message is gone because Facebook have zapped it, that just confuses the people who should be in the home for the bewildered. Do you know what I mean? So then there was that in the morning, and I had deliberately had to go, right, I can't deal with this because I've got this project. And then I don't know what happened yesterday. It was just Judith's Weird Tuesday 2016.
Well, I'm going to share with you something very strange that happened to me. I mean, you already know about it, but I'm going to share with our listeners. Here we go. Dear Nicola, the webinar I endured was such an unprofessional shambles. I can't believe that you believe in yourself. It was an insult, to say the least. If I look for someone to show me the way to six figures, I won't settle for someone in such a hurry, so brusque with anyone, so happy to let all kinds of domestic interruptions filter through. Cherry on top, you don't know the price of your lucky packet. I'm unsubscribing and I'll have a hard time refraining from giving my opinion on Facebook. No, thank you. A lady who shall remain nameless, life coach and piano teacher. And as you know, I put it in our Own It group and I put it in the High Performing Women group because I wanted a bit of feedback on how to reply, if at all. And I got some really thoughtful contributions. It provoked some really good conversations. And but it was a real shock to me. I did used to have one man who used to send me really abusive emails about twice a year, calling me all sorts of things, including the C word. And he really used to take violent exception to everything I sent out. Well, when I went to check if this lady had unsubscribed herself, in fact, I found out she hadn't. So I took great delight in unsubscribing her and doing the job for her. But there isn't a way to block. I've got several people like this. I've accumulated over the years. I've been online 20 years. There isn't, as far as I can work out, a way to block these people from subscribing. I thought there was by their IP address. But the thing is, there was so many. Do you remember? I was so pleased with that webinar that it was so organised, and I'd edited it really carefully afterwards. And sometimes I do.
Actually, I've got a controversial opinion on this one.
Go on then.
And I've got a controversial opinion on what I just said as well, which is a client of mine who's known me for a very long time was confused when I didn't show up at 3 o'clock. And in my worldview, she overreacted in response to that. And I'm being exasperated by her behaviour. And I didn't overreact when you shared this, because I think there's something in both pieces of feedback, my client's overreaction and this email from this woman. We can't, I saw everybody in our group and in the other group being very supportive of you, but we can't, either you or me, where we've confused the punter or disappointed the punter or upset the punter or whatever, think it's all them. It's not. Some of it's us.
Oh, I totally agree. Yeah.
Yeah. Some of it's us. And what's a lucky packet, by the way?
Well, I think I never used that word, so she's made that word up. I think she's using that word to describe my offer, but I never said that word at all. And I specifically didn't put the price of the package on it, or did I? See, I can't remember now. I would have to go and watch the video. I remember I made the offer in the live version of the webinar, and I think the call to action in the the automated version is to book in to talk to me. But I'm pretty sure I wouldn't have said book in to talk to me without them having some idea of what the investment was going to be, because I simply wouldn't want anyone to talk to me under those circumstances.
I'll tell you what I think's important here. I mean, this lady, bless her, is clearly not your ideal client.
No, obviously not.
And actually, I'm not sure why. I've seen a little bit about her now, obviously. I'm not sure why she would enroll in a webinar called 6 Figures in 6 Months, because that's never going to happen. However, I remember when I was on one of my very earliest webinars with Guy Levine, that he went to answer the door and take delivery of a fridge in the middle of the webinar. And I remember thinking how deeply, deeply, deeply unprofessional this was. And I might have softened my view in the intervening 12 years. But she was cross with you that you said goodbye to your teens in the middle of the webinar or something, wasn't she? And I think that's entirely your prerogative to do that. And to be as quirky as you like, but know that when you are all of those things that she's accused you of, it's going to piss off some people. It's Marmite, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so I think there's always something. There's something in my client's overreaction yesterday for me, and there's something in this response from this woman for you. Yeah. And what our job is to do is to go, how was I responsible for my part of the miscommunication, and how will I take responsibility for my part to make sure that doesn't happen again? And I think what's changed about you and I in the last 15 years, and you describe it quite often in these podcasts, is we don't feel emotionally that we've done something wrong anymore. It's not a dagger to the heart, is it? But it is a notification that in her worldview you were shambolic, unprofessional and ill-prepared.
I wouldn't mind, but it was the one webinar I planned for 3 weeks for.
Well, there you go. So, I can see the picture on your screen, of course, and she's a bit of a dotty old lady. I can see that now.
Yeah.
It's just a miscommunication. But I think it's not right, and that's why I didn't do it. It's not right to do what everybody did in our group and the other group, which is side with you.
Yeah, and I wasn't asking for that. I was literally asking.
No, I know you weren't, but it's the way we nice girls go. Oh, you poor thing. Of course, it's all her. It's not all her. Some of it was you. Yeah. And yesterday, some of it was me.
Yeah.
And we have to take responsibility for our bit in that.
Yeah, we do. We have to take responsibility for everything. But yes.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do. So I had a rant and you had a rant, but actually we weren't quite right there in either example.
Yeah, no, exactly. I'm gonna have to listen to the damn thing again now, because I'm pretty sure I edited all that stuff out.
Well, there is the story. Remember when we did that gig where I had to give somebody her money back? She was one disgruntled person out of 200, and then I went to lunch with my old boss, and he said, "What's the matter with you?" And I said, "Oh, I had 1 in 200 was unhappy, and I had to give her her money back." He said, 1 in 200? I'm pleased if I satisfy half of the room. Men are more robust. Women, we're odd in this regard, and sometimes people just behave oddly on both sides, and maybe that's all we need to know, really.
Very good. Right, moving on to what's fueled your fire this week then.
Well, it hasn't fueled my fire yet, but it will have done by the end of today. What all that drama was about yesterday was me putting aside some time to prepare to be an expert interviewee for a woman called Sherry Bevan, who's running an online teleconference in January called The Confident Mother. And of course, irony of ironies, what I know about confident motherhood can be written on the back of a postage stamp. However, she wants me to talk to her, list effectively about, when you're a mum, starting your own business from home, which of course I'm delighted to do. But I don't know this woman, I've not spoken to her, so I'm turning up to this thing at 1 o'clock this afternoon. Now, I love doing this. I love sharing and inspiring people, information that I know, people that I don't know, community, crossing over into other people's communities. And we've done this many times over our lives, you and me. But nevertheless, I'm slightly anxious because it's the first time for doing something. Don't know her community, not a mother, but delighted to be asked and love sharing, and hopefully will inspire, and that there'll become a lovely sort of sigh of relief after it's over, because you know what that's like. You're excited but slightly anxious.
Yeah, tell me about it. I'm quivering with excitement and anxiety at the moment. But yes, you'll be fantastic. You've got such a brilliant way of demystifying business and making it sound not scary and accessible and doable. You're absolutely perfect for that market. Absolutely.
I'm not worried, Nicola. I tell you why I'm not worried, because I spent yesterday preparing for it. But before I was prepared, I was anxious.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I love doing those things. I particularly love doing in fact, I want to tell you about something, who or what's impressed, that makes a tool that makes those online seminars, webinars, kind of, tele-summits, whatever they're called, even more compelling. But yeah, no, I love them. I love the fact you don't have to go anywhere. It's a bit like being interviewed for a podcast. You're getting in front of thousands of people over time with 1 hour, an investment of 1 hour of your time, and you don't have to move out of your living room. Perfect.
Yeah.
Really is. What's fueled my fire this week is a book called The Happiness Advantage, The 7 Principles of Positive Psychology That Fuel Success and Performance at Work. A rather long title for a rather nice little book by Shawn Achor. I'm so rubbish with titles and names. I looked it up in advance on this one. SHAWN Achor, ACHOR. And it's a bit of a follow-on from one of my favourite books of all time, Martin Seligman's Learned Optimism. And in fact, this chap did study at Harvard under Martin Seligman, and cool. he ran tests. They started getting interested on he watched, because what happened was he went to Harvard himself, which was a bit of a surprise to his whole family. He absolutely loved it. He felt privileged to be there. He enjoyed his time. He made the most of it, and he stayed on afterwards to do postgraduate work and also to teach. And he became fascinated with the attitudes of the students coming in, and whether you could tell from the intake questionnaires who was going to succeed at Harvard or not, and then go on to succeed in the world of work. And he found out there was indeed a correlation by the people who came in thinking that, they were lucky and privileged, and they were really, looking forward with optimism to their time at Harvard, went on to have a much better time than the people who came in, the people who felt deserving and what's the word I'm looking for? The people who came in feeling like they deserved it all already. And then those are the ones who really crumbled under the stress and pressure of the workload. And it really was really good, because it informed Harvard how to best support their students. It also gave them, fascinating data, and they followed them as they went out into the world. And it's just a really nice read, and another backup for the whole success follows happiness, not the other way around.
Yeah. And was the word you were looking for entitled?
Yes, that is exactly the word I was thinking of. I went to have my hair cut yesterday, my oldest friend Kim, and she said to me, "Are we 55 this year?" I said, "Yeah, I think we probably are." I said, "Obviously, you're 55 before me." And she said, "Yeah, all right." But we couldn't remember. And she said, "Do you transpose words in your head?" I said, "All the time, Kim. My brain thinks Shoreham, and my mouth says Stenning." It's just a really bizarre thing that's happening to us at the moment. But we've been assured it's the menopause, not Alzheimer's, so I'm not worrying about that.
Very good.
A word from our sponsors. This podcast is sponsored by clicksandleads.com. Clicksandleads.com believe in affordable traffic and leads for everyone. They'll set up your Facebook ad campaign, page likes, leads or remarketing, then they'll manage it for you. They'll even split test your ads and audiences to find the best performing ones. Game-changing marketing from clicksandleads.com.
So, what's our client challenge of the week then?
Well, it's client opportunity of the week, and it's going to sound rather familiar to you because we've done it before, but you know what happened to it when we did it before. as is my word of the week and my project update. So sorry, Nicola, but listeners, we lost a recording. So Nicola's heard some of this before, which might take out some of the spontaneity of today's podcast, but it's valuable content, so I wanted to revisit it.
Okay.
The client opportunity of the week is Facebook groups. I'm not going to frame this to you in the same way as I did before, because you've heard the challenge.
Yeah.
What can we do with a Facebook group that's good for our business is the challenge of the week. And we have brainstormed a number of things before, which I then emailed to my client, which I handily have here, Nicola, in case you can't remember what we discussed.
Yeah, that'd be great. Why don't you run through them?
I will. I'll run through them. Not you suggest. Yeah, one of your first suggestion was, so I've got a client who has inherited a slightly dormant Facebook group, and Nicola's suggestion was that she should first of all befriend each member personally, which will obviously take a bit of time. And my recommendation to her was that she shouldn't rush it, because if you try to befriend 850 people, I think Facebook think you're a spammer or a nutter.
They won't like it.
Yeah. But the point of befriending each member personally is it means you can send them all a private message. And the point of the private message was really so that she could achieve a smidgen of rapport with them. The nature of the group, the thing that they discuss, is quite personal and private. And they might like an individual approach first rather than a group approach, given the sensitive nature of the stuff. But what it will enable her to do, if she can PM everybody individually, is educate them about, for instance, having their notifications turned on, because if they don't have their notifications turned on, they might not see that the group is being resuscitated.
Yeah.
I can tell you already, because we debated this last Friday, that 5 business days passed or whatever, and my client's all over this like a rash, so she's doing really well. And she put an invitation in her newsletter to encourage new members to the group, so it wasn't just about resuscitating old members. And I reminded her that the more they engage with it, the more they'll see it in their timeline. She got the opportunity to rewrite the rules and rewrite the subscriptions and put the right tags in there. She rebranded it with a new banner, which was refreshing. The old retiring administrator came in and sent her a nice message. I'm a big fan of Facebook groups, as you know, and I think this is a list by another name, and it gives my client an enormous opportunity and advantage here. And because, in this group, again, I'm going to keep repeating it, because I think actually all groups, unless it's a group that you want everybody to join, so it's all visible to everybody on Facebook, you can have a secret group and a closed group, can't you? And a secret group means nobody sees anything except the members. And a closed group means, I think I've got this the right way around, Facebook can see that it exists, but they can see who's a member, but they can't see anything that's said in it. So you, as the owner of a Facebook group or an originator of a Facebook group, can set the settings to be visible to all, visible to nobody but members, and a halfway house between the two. So what we suggested was that she shouldn't be spammy in those PMs. She should make them feel special and not copy and paste them and make it personal to them. These new rules that we recommended, we suggested she might pin them to the top in a pinned post, and anything else that you prefer people to see at the top of a group news feed. Use the file section for stuff that you don't want to keep repeating them, and educate your members how to use that. I think that was one of your genius ideas. What I see happening in groups, which I find quite annoying, is that everybody is individually welcomed when they join. So you get an awful lot of rubbish in the timeline, which I think puts off members because they feel overwhelmed with, say, 850 welcome messages. Often quite a good idea to have one welcome message and recommend welcome everybody individually within the one. I'm not quite sure how you say that. Do you know what I mean by a thread? That's what I mean. Yeah. So keep all your welcome, hello Mary, welcome, onto one thread rather than opening up a new thread for each welcome. I think that's discretionary, because I think if you're only going to have, say, 20 odd members, you might want to have a thread for each of them individually, because then they could reply and introduce themselves. So
Yeah, or you have an introductions thread which people go to, and you link.
That's what I'm saying. A welcome thread for everybody if you've got a big number, or individually if you've got a small number.
Yeah, I think the using threads properly is discussion threads is a really good idea, because you can have a welcome thread that links to the files section, and it links to the rules which are in the files section. Perhaps they're a document in the files section which is always being updated. And then you can link to the introduction thread in the welcome thread and say, go over there and introduce yourself. And this is the other thing I've seen that makes it really easy to do a good introduction is they supply a template. So my name is blah, I live blah, my company name is blah, my website is. You can best find me on Twitter, Facebook, or Google Plus, whatever. So you give people a format to fill in, and that really makes everyone's introduction on the introduction thread much more usable for everybody else.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And so what's your biggest challenge, and what would you like the group to help you with? That's another one I've seen.
Yeah, that's a good one. My client had an uncharacteristic smidgen of scarcity around. She's a coach with a very specialist niche, other coaches in the group. And I said, well, as long as you police those rules right to, how they may contribute, in a group of 850 people, if you're the leader and really it's about you and your work, and that's why you're working so hard on the group to get clients out of it, if you allow other coaches in there, you can be scarce, or you can make sure they understand the rules in which they're not allowed to promote themselves. But I think you can also trust that nobody's going to work with you because it's your group, unless you achieve rapport with that client. So if other coaches are in there and they're going to draw clients to them based on what their contribution is. So my client said, there's somebody in there already. I'm anxious about her being in there. She doesn't do a very good job, to be honest with you. She always sends the same answer. And I said, why don't you let the members make that decision for themselves then? If you don't think she's doing a good job and she uses the same repetitive answer all the time, the members can see that.
Yeah.
And the other scarcity and abundance about other people who you perceive to be in competition with you in your group. What do you think about that one?
Well, that's very true. And we always had, in the Money Gym, we always had other people who then went on to style themselves as wealth coaches. And I did used to get a little frisson of annoyance about it. But then, as you say, I just trusted that certain people would be drawn to me, and certain people wouldn't be, and they were looking for alternatives. So, I was able to talk myself into a place of abundance.
And the funny thing that
taught me into it.
Well, the funny thing was we had this. Well, you taught me the difference originally about that, which was, there are a gazillion coaches in the world. They're not all going to, some of them are right for you and some aren't. Yeah. Interestingly, she and I had that debate around the scarcity. But then she asked me the same question again about another coach. I went, I don't see the difference between Coach B than Coach A. If what we agreed with works with Coach A, then it'll work with Coach B. But I think there's a lot of uncertainty at the beginning. You've got a lot of things to do in a lot of different directions to be confident to know the answers to everything straight off. But I did come up with a genius idea for her. I want to hear it.
You're gone.
Well, invite everybody to bring a friend and double your membership overnight.
Yeah, absolutely. With new people too, who are much more active. Yeah,
absolutely, yes. I can see also that her clients, or rather her readership from her list, who've joined the group that they didn't know was there before because of her energy. I've become an honorary member of the group, so I can keep an eye on it. I can see that because they're new to this, new people do generate a lot more energy than old people that you're trying to regenerate. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Are you going to cover the thing about making it obvious how to join the group on certain things, like, for example, when we did it last week and then lost the recording, I went straight off and I lost the recording or didn't transcode it properly, whatever happened. I went off straight away and added a join our free Facebook group to the menu of our website.
Oh, yes, that's nice. Talk about that for a few seconds.
Well, you want to make sure, because the reason that I've become interested in groups again particularly is because I listen to a lot of podcasts. And what podcasts people do is they get people to join a free group for the podcast in the same way that we've got a free group for Own It, the podcast. It's a closed group, not a private group, but you do have to be approved as a member. But then the main goal from there is to make sure that everyone in that group who now this is an interesting one as well, because people in free Facebook groups get a sense of entitlement. So you've got to have very clear boundaries between what's a free Facebook group and what's a pro. They call them pro groups. So a lot of the podcasts, for example, Dan Norris has got an open 7-day startup Facebook group, and he's got a pro 7-day startup Facebook group, and he mentions on a regular basis what's going on in the pro group, in the open group, and he also refers people in the pro group to go over to the open group to get bigger feedback, so more people, feedback from more people. So he's cross-pollinates the group, but he makes it very obvious that there is a pro group and there are certain things going on in that.
And sorry, is the pro group for paying members?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Okay.
And because he doesn't have, he's a real advocate of the minimum viable product thing. So he likes Facebook groups because they're quick and easy to set up. He hasn't gone down the membership site route yet, but so they are very good for that. And there's lots of other podcasts where there's a free Facebook group, but again, they're all starting to go to pro groups as well. And it is a really good way to get people in, and then offer them a pro group with distinct added benefits.
Yeah. Now I'm going to keep going if that's all right with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
You brought up Highlight a Member Day, which we've seen some groups do. Again, because of the confidential nature of this, it's not right for this group. But of course, she could invite them to share their inspirational stories themselves, so it comes from them, and she could encourage that. And
if they were willing to do that in a Facebook group, they might be willing to do it, have their stories included in a book. So by doing that, you are, in a way, starting to write a book.
Yeah, nice. And I've saved the best one for last, which was she's got this gorgeous, affordable designer of ebook covers and Facebook banners and things like that in an affordable part of the world. And he made her a lovely new banner. And then we talked last week, I think, about theming each day of the week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, that you have a different coloured and different looking banner for each day of the week, so that it's themed Monday, themed Tuesday. And I can see she's doing a lot of polling on what those days should be called. And so that's quite an interesting way of separating up a busy group. And so instead of it being loads of threads, Monday ends and then Tuesday starts with a different theme.
Yeah, and I think the thing about that is not to just bring the previous, say it was Inspirational Tuesday or something, not just bring the previous week's one back up to the top with a new comment, actually put the graphic in.
Oh yeah. So yes,
every week
I agree.
Yeah. Otherwise it just becomes really unwieldy to read.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
So that's good. I'm liking this.
I know, it's fun too, isn't it? That's the thing. I think it's got to be fun, because otherwise we wouldn't do it.
Nobody does anything that isn't fun unless they're for.
No, they don't. Yeah. So befriend each member personally, send them a private message, educate everybody about how to behave in your group. Don't be scarce about people who might be in competition with you if you allow them in your group, but make sure they adhere to the rules. And if they keep breaking your rules, bump them out, because it's your place. Encourage people to engage, because then they'll see it more. Make sure they've got their notifications turned on. Don't be spammy. I do think you can police it quite sternly. If it's your group, you can warn people, but you can also bin them if they're behaving in a way you don't like. It's a free group after all, isn't it?
Yeah.
Use the files section. Have one welcome thread. Teach people how to behave. Invite members to bring a friend. Invite members to share their inspirational stories, and theme the days of the week.
And don't forget to make people aware that there is a pro version.
Oh yes.
Because otherwise people do get really stroppy about if you brand your group as giving and abundant and free, and everything in it's free and all that stuff, people get very cross then when you introduce an offer. Some people get very cross when you introduce an offer. Other people bite your arm off. So do start talking right from the very word go. Get the culture of the group is that it's your group and you're there. It's there to support people, but it's also there to provide a conduit to your paid offerings.
Yes. Now, interestingly, she did ask me last night if I thought one of her blog posts was too salesy. I don't think there's any such thing in my world, and I didn't think it was when I reviewed it either. But that's the question she was asking me, effectively.
Yeah.
And she won't have a pro group, because when she works with people, she works with them one-to-one. But I'm getting that that's beyond my client's context. And there's one more point here.
Well, no, but what she needs to make very sure somehow either by just posting an ad for that one-to-one service, so perhaps one of the days are.
Well, it's all connected to her, you see. So she's the leader, and she's demonstrating by her responses. It's show don't tell.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I know. I've thought of another win for a Facebook group. I'll hold it until you finish that. You've just taken an intake of breath.
No,
well, a free one is a perfect solution to the VATMOS problem.
It totally is. Yes.
Yeah.
Tell people about that, because I'm still coming across people who don't realise that.
Yeah, we've got this funny issue in the UK, which is now more than a year old, about where if we sell anything which is 100% digital around the world, and particularly in Europe, we might have to charge them VAT at differing rates. Now, if you introduce a Facebook group where you humanly engaging with people, it is no longer a 100% digital product. So it behoves you with any product that would otherwise be 100% digital to throw in membership of a free Facebook group where you are active, because then it's no longer, that is no longer your problem.
Yeah, that's great, and that's a huge benefit, isn't it?
Oh, I think so too. Yeah, and also I think it's a list by another name. It's a marketing opportunity. You're closer to people becoming clients. They're closer to you because you're engaged with them. Your newsletter is a broadcast. Your blog post is a broadcast. But interacting with people in a Facebook group, they're getting closer to you.
Yeah. And the funny thing is that when I first started NicolaCairncross.com back in 1998, when I was first being trained by Thomas Leonard, who was an absolute genius at digital marketing before anyone knew what that word meant, he said, start a Yahoo group. So I did. And then it became a Google group, I think. And, we all just started groups, didn't we? Like really back in the day. And Facebook was just an extension of that, really. But thanks to Thomas Leonard, he had the foresight to see that if you build a community around what you do, eventually people will come to know, like, and trust you, and they will buy from you.
Yes, it's another way of them seeing you. And I think show don't tell is the important thing, which is, be generous and show them stuff, but don't show them so much that they don't need to hire you.
That's a very good point, because it is very, very easy to do that, isn't it?
It is.
Giving.
In fact, we would both say, I think, that also you can't do that. You can't ever give people too much, because they still can't do it by themselves.
Yeah, it's true. And also, you can't brain dump your entire brain into a Facebook group. You can only brain dump quick elastoplasts rather than
exactly
cures and operations.
Exactly right.
Cool. What's your word of the week then?
You've heard it before, I'm so sorry, but the listeners haven't. It's transcreation, which I discovered by talking to a translator, is when you translate material from one language to another, but you improve it. So there's a trans bit, which is translating, and creation, where a simple, bald translation would not make good reading matter. So you can be a translator and you're paid by the word, or you can be a trans creator, where you actually improve. Let's say you're translating a novel from the original Swedish. If you did a literal translation, it wouldn't make a good read. So you improve it. You don't improve upon the original author's content, but you improve the translation to make it more readable. I think that's a fabulous word.
You gave a good example when we talked about it last week as well. What about the mackerel or herrings or something?
Yes, I can't remember what that was. I was making it up on the spur of the moment. But I think that some literal translations, even from English into other languages, they doesn't make any sense. People would have question marks above their head, wouldn't they? They would just be bizarre. But
yeah, well, we've got so many weird sayings, as I'm discovering, because every time I trot one out, I have to, the teens go, what are you talking about? And I have to go back and explain that, in the 15th century, people used to shoe horses doing this, this, and this, and that's why that expression has come about. And then they go, what relevance does that have to us today? But the thing I was thinking about with the transcreation as well is that another way it happens is when people take, for example, when I wrote The Money Gym, I took a lot of references from other books and credited them. Obviously, I made real damn sure I credited everyone who I was quoting. But then if you take something that someone else has said and then expand on it and grow on it, you're transcreating as well, aren't you, in some way?
Yeah. Yes. I think this is a word that makes sense. In that world, I'd just never heard it before, and I think it's really nice. So anything to do with creating and creativity is nice.
Yeah, and
What's
also,
yours?
well, people
Oh,
just going back to what's his name, Martin Seligman. You know, his research, the Happiness Advantage, the book we're talking about today, is a lot of it is transcreated from the original research, and that's really become very obvious in the world of neuroplasticity, where people are taking very dryly worded research findings and turning them into popular psychology books that go on to become
yes.
bestsellers.
That's interesting, isn't it? And I think there are a lot of ideas. This is not transgression, but there are a lot of ideas in the world which people take and then just improve upon them.
Yeah. So I wonder what that is. That's like a DJ taking several records and making a new tune out of it.
Yes, and what do we call that? Sampling.
Sampling, indeed.
Yes. Now, tell me what your word is. I'm so cool, Nicola. I'm so drop dead cool.
It's so hilarious.
I am the coolest senior citizen on the planet. Tell me about your word of the week.
I bow down to your coolness. My word of the week is expansion, because I feel like my world is expanding suddenly. I'm going out more. I'm having more fun. I'm saying yes to more things, and obviously, of course, I'm about to set off on the world trip. Well, not the world trip, the USA trip. So I feel expansion is my world. I feel like opportunities are coming, things are happening to me, and I'm able to say yes to them.
Ooh.
Which is very exciting.
No idea. I think there's a lovely book. You've probably read it. Do you remember The Yes Man, who just decides to say yes to everything for a year?
Yes, I do remember it.
Yeah.
And that was who was that now? We can't remember, can we? Let's say.
No, you were on the Amazon page. Google it quickly. Everybody will know. He's quite prolific. And one of my clients met him recently, actually.
Danny Wallace. There we go.
Yes, that's it. Yeah.
And actually, I think there's another book just come out recently, isn't it? That's called Yes. I seem to recall.
I do think it can lead you in all sorts of adventures.
Let's see. Oh, she's got it here. It says
finished it this morning.
Sarah's just finished it this morning. It's called Year of Yes: How to Dance It Out, Stand in the Sun, and Be Your Own Person by Shonda Rhimes. That's SHONDA RA.
Who she makes all of my favourite television programmes in America. Shonda Rhimes, doesn't she?
Oh, Grey's Anatomy, apparently, yeah.
Grey's Anatomy, Scandal. She makes all the good ones.
Yeah, I might have to take that on holiday with me. Holiday. I just said the word out loud. It's not a holiday. It's a work trip.
No, darling, it's a holiday.
Any other name.
We know the secret. Now, speaking of your holiday, we might need to prepare the listeners that due to the loss of one of our recordings, there might be a week where there's not one.
Well, I don't know. I think we'll be able to cobble it through, because if I get back on the Saturday, so I think we'll record one on the 10th, and then, or not the 10th, the 16th, and I'll be able to edit it immediately, and it'll be up by Friday. So I think we're okay.
No, that's what we had to do before we lost a recording.
Oh. Okay.
I'll talk it through with you afterwards. I think that listeners, darling listeners, there may be a podcast-free week.
Yeah, that would be awful, wouldn't it? We haven't missed one.
No, it'll be fine.
Nothing we can do about it at this stage of the game.
No, I don't think there is. No.
Editor's note. After the recording of this, we decided that we were going to attempt a live from San Diego episode. We'll do that if we can. If the technology holds up and everyone wakes up at the right time, then it will go ahead, because we know how much you're waiting for it every week.
Project updates then.
Well, as I said to you before last Friday, not much progress on my January one, but I have renamed it Thinning and Binning, thinning out my files and binning things I don't want. Actually, I'm lying. I'm doing okay. Today is dustbin day. It's just good to look around and see what can I stick in the dustbin, rather than my original plan was to have a sort of house clearance thing, which I'm sure it'll come to eventually with the big items, but anything that's a load of old tat is going now. And I'm being quite ruthless, it would have to be said. Well,
I'm leaving my house for 3 weeks in the care of Sarah, my sister, and she's very good at thinning and binning, so I'm a bit worried about what I'll come back to. I do have the propensity to be a bit of a hoarder. Well, I'm getting much better. So my Facebook ads course is getting me leads for 70p. I've never.
Oh, that's good. That's good, because last week we were up to 98 or something, down to 70p. Good.
Down to 70p. Not sure if the people who are opting in for a Facebook ads course are the kind of people who will become Clicks and Leads clients. That will only become evident with time. But in the meantime, I'm running remarketing. While I go away, I'm running remarketing ads to everyone who visits the Clicks and Leads website. So that'll hopefully hoover up a few opt-ins there for the report. And people are still opting in for the report, and it's all going extremely well.
Does it matter if they don't become? Surely the Facebook ads course is targeted at a slightly different market, isn't it?
It is, but in order for the Facebook ads course to work, I need to either sell it or for them to become Clicks and Leads clients. It can be one in 1,000.
I think selling it alone is your goal there.
It has got to be, yes, but we have sold a couple. We've sold 2 in, I can't remember. Clicks. So, but I think the mechanism by which I'm selling it, making the offer, needs to be tightened up a bit. Basically, I've got a case study where I ran through setting up a Facebook ads course with someone in an hour. Kirsty, actually, I think I told you this, and I've topped and tailed it with an introduction and an offer at the end, and I think I can do better than that. So not that it wasn't a great thing, but it was, pretty fast and furious. So we'll see what happens. I'm going to let it run while I'm away and not worry about it, and then I'm going to look at it afresh when I come back.
Okay,
cool. So what's impressed you this week then?
Well, one of my clients called Jo, who came to the end of her year with me just before Christmas, and I made the erroneous assumption, as it turned out, that she wouldn't be renewing because she'd given up her day job and she'd scraped together all of her savings, and her plan was to put all the possessions in a van with her dog and drive them to Spain and do up a ramshackle old building that she owns. Yeah, that she owns there, with a view to yurt holidays and living off-grid type holidays, and selling the harvest from the olives that she's got on her land. And I knew that money was tight. In fact, I'd been more worried about money being tight than she had been from the beginning. We'd had a lot of conversations about money. So I assumed that since she was going on her adventure, there wasn't reliable internet and money was short, she wouldn't be renewing. Oh, no.
She's regarding it as an incentive.
But the thing that's inspired me is not that. It's that on her... Yes. The thing that's... I will link to this in the show notes, but her Facebook page, which she's currently using as a website, is called Do This or Die. And when she was on the ferry to Spain, I think somebody, unless I'm mistaken, somebody drove her. But when she was on the ferry to Spain, and she went on the long ferry, as opposed to driving through France, she went on the one that takes you all the way to Spain. She overheard a conversation from a man who was doing the same thing and hoping to pay his way around Spain by doing up properties.
No.
Which was just what she needed. So she threw herself on his mercy. This man followed her to her place, and in the last month, the two of them have made the place habitable, got her a bedroom, got her a shower, got the water working. He's left today. There's pictures today of him being waved off, and his goal was to leave her 100% better than he found her. And the progress these two have made, it might be 6 weeks. I don't know whether they went just before or just after Christmas. It feels like a month to me, but it's probably longer if you're living off-grid in Spain. But got to follow Jo on Do This or Die. I'll link to it. So good, the fortune of meeting this builder on the ferry, who then she slightly bravely, said, do you mind coming to help me? I've overheard your conversation. And he said yes.
Oh, that is just so awesome. Such a law of attraction thing to happen. I'm just skimming through the photos now. It looks absolutely...
Yeah, look, aren't they doing well?
Yeah, if it wasn't for the insect life, I would love to do something like that. But I imagine there were some very large insects in there.
We spent most of last year discussing the pros and cons of it and how we could make it work and how many yurts you'd need and what yurts cost and how many times you'd have to rent out a yurt in order to pay the bills and how much was it going to cost to do it up and... how long would it take to get the olives in shape to sell the harvest and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, she's living one of those lives like women doing books, driving over lemons and, whatever the Tuscany ones are called. And it's very exciting. But however, she's offline, but she's managing to share on Facebook. And I always find Facebook's quite power hungry when you're on the road. So I don't know how she's doing that, but
It's
Well done,
quite
Joe.
it's quite easy to share photos to Facebook from your mobile. It's actually more difficult to do it from a desktop when you're
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know. They obviously compress them and have a very powerful tool to do it. No, it looks gripping, and of course she will be able to write a book. So I hope she's keeping. Well, she is keeping a bit of a diary by putting photos on Facebook, and that'll
Yeah.
date things, won't it?
Yes.
Awesome, awesome. Well, I'm deeply jealous. It looks. I mean, as you say, he looks like such a sweet guy. Ian, his name is the one who's.
Yes. Hasn't he done well?
Yeah, he has done well. Well, I'm deeply impressed. That's very good. You've impressed me with that one.
That's a good one, I know.
So I'm impressed by Dan Norris, who is at it again with another big project. He's just got his brewery up and running, and he's smashed through his target on Possible, which is like a Kickstarter for Australia. And his first target was $10,000, and I think they're smashing through it and on the way to 100. But in not to be resting on his laurels, he's also started a 7-day startup challenge, which started yesterday. So you're not too late, people. And he's gathered together 12 to 14 of the world's best experts in everything from how to validate your business idea through to how to market it, how to do social media, how to do pay-per-click, blah, how to be happy while you're an entrepreneur, how to look after yourself, all sorts of experts. And he's doing it on, now don't want you to think for a second that I've gone off Snapchat, because I'm going to tell you in a minute how I'm doing Snapchat so it leverages everything while I'm away. But he's using Blab, which is, do you remember a while ago there was a really nifty tool online that you could Skype in? Did you Skype? Yeah, you must have had to use your computer. I think you went to a website, clicked a link, and then it would take your computer's camera and microphone, and it would put you side by side with your interviewee or your co-conversationalist. Well, Blab is doing that for mobiles now. So if you've got a Blab account, and you can actually not only have a guest in, so there's Dan sitting in the Gold Coast and his guest wherever they are, but then Dan can open up the line to people who want to ask questions, and they come in as their image comes in and you can see them talking. And I've watched a few of these things. I really shouldn't have been. I should have been packing, but I've watched a few of these things this morning, and they're very compelling, but very compelling. Normally you've just got audio, but having the video as well, and it seems to be working very well. So it goes out live. You can create, if you're doing like a tele summit, you can create what's called a collection on Blab, and so you can publicize all your things. But if you want to see how really organized Dan is, go to 7daystartup.com, sign up for the challenge, and you'll be so impressed with all the things he's done to make it easy for people to find the Blabs.
It's so sorry to pour water on your oil.
Go on then.
But it'll be way beyond 7 days by the time this one airs.
Oh, yes, of course it will, yes. But you'll still be able to opt in and look at the recordings on Blab.
Okay, good.
So they'll still be available, presumably, on Blab for a little while. He's not worked out what he's going to do with them yet, but he's building a very fine body of work there. I watched a couple, as I say, this morning. But just to come back to Snapchat, and you'll see that I'm making a real special effort.
Yes, I'm loving it. I'm absolutely loving it. Well done. I think you're slightly overdoing it now. You could pull it back by 10%.
Okay. Well, I spent a bit of time with Sarah yesterday working out how I could, what's the easiest way to do one thing while I'm away, and for that one thing to leverage across all my social media platforms. And we've discovered that Snapchat has to be the first thing you do, but from there, when you take a picture, you then save it to your photo roll on your phone, and then from there you can upload it to Instagram, and then from Instagram you can get it to go out on everywhere. So from Instagram it can go to Twitter, Facebook page, Facebook profile, and anywhere else you like. And I'm using Zapier to do that. So I've set up a Zap so that as soon as a new Instagram thing publishes, it goes out to everywhere. So all I have to do is do the Snapchat thing, save the picture or the video to my camera, and then upload it to Instagram, and then from there it goes everywhere. Marvellous. I love a bit of leverage, me.
And effectively, is Snapchat just taking a photograph and putting some words on it?
No, Snapchat's very cool because you can do a 15-second video, sorry. That's the allure of Snapchat, is that you can do, it's only quick. So you can actually save it to what's called a story. So And I was listening to Dan Norris talking about why Snapchat is preferable to Periscope and why we're all moving over. Is because Periscope notifies you every time anyone you follow does anything. So the notifications become very overwhelming. Whereas with Snapchat, you get a notification that someone's put something up, but it's not so intrusive. And you only get a notification once a day, and then you can go and watch their story of their last 24 hours. And that story is pictures which only stay for, say, 7 to 10 seconds, and videos that only last 15 seconds. So it really is a snapshot of someone's day in tiny segments, tiny pictures.
And in your first description of that, you said take a picture, save it to your picture roll, upload it to Instagram, da-da-da. But it doesn't have to be a picture. It might be a video. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, but obviously I'm not sure if Instagram takes videos. So I think the video part of it would stay on Snapchat and be available if you wanted to put it on YouTube from your camera roll. Okay. So yeah, there's a lot of leverage on this, but you start with a Snapchat. That's the first thing to start with. And I've been practicing that over the last day just to get into the habit of it. And it is a discipline because normally you go straight to your camera on your phone, but I'm going straight to my Snapchat application.
Okay. Well, Nicola, have a lovely trip.
I will, and I will try and make notes of the best bits, the lessons and the learnings, Judith, to bring back to our lovely listeners.
Okay, good
stuff. Thank you very much, and see you all today. Bye.
Yeah.
You've been listening to Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. The podcast is called Own It, Your Business and Your Life. Do come and visit us at ownitthepodcast.com. We'd love to hear your feedback. You can find out more about Judith and visit her on her website at judithmorgan.com, and you can find Nicola at nicolacairncross.com.